Good morning from Milano. I'm sitting here this morning noodling something that I could frame either as an aha that I had many years ago, or at this point, I could probably call it a theme or a recurring thought in my life. It's around this idea of this or that, or I guess you could say this and. But let me give you some context. I remember many, many years ago, I was going through a life reckoning and I was in Italy. I had been divorced for a couple of years and I had gone from the thrill and freedom of having made a very courageous decision in my life and subsequently landed on the grief that comes with the loss of a life you thought you were going to have and broken promises. And I was in a stage of doing that inner work when you are birthing what's next. Now, at this point, I had been in Europe for 19 years between Spain and then the 18 plus years in Italy. Anyway, I was having these rumblings about what I wanted to do with my life. What did I want to be? What were my options? How could I create new opportunities? And this idea of going back to the United States was bubbling beneath the surface. And it felt just enormous to me. It was really overwhelming. To give you some context, I left the United States when I was 21. So my adult life had, until that point, been entirely in Europe. I had no bank account there, no driver's license. I was getting up every morning and reading this book. I think it was called Create Your Own Life. And I'll never forget this idea softly came to me. And it was something like, it doesn't have to be this or that. And it was like a beckoning back to America. Up until that point, my identity was so closely aligned to being this American in Europe that I had strayed so far from this idea that I could spend time in the United States. That aha proved to be an important full circle moment for me. I realized that it didn't have to be this or that, Europe or America. Maybe, just maybe, it could be this and that. And that was how I found my way home. That sort of pivotal aha moment became something that permeated my life. I make a habit of asking myself, is it possible to have this and that? Can both thoughts or ideas or ways of being be true at the same time? Might I be this and that? And I have to say, I'm not always good at it, but I try. And it's a good thing to think about. I would say one place where I failed miserably at it was in my business scout talent. I wouldn't say that it's a regret, but I can see in the rearview mirror that this longing I was having to express myself differently in life, to be a different person, to evolve in different ways, didn't have to be one of those situations where I had to walk away from everything I had built. Had I been more in the this and mindset, perhaps I would have managed my departure from that part of my life, that identity, in a different way. I think in my romantic relationships as well, perhaps I fell into this or that thinking instead of this and. I guess what I want to say is the possibilities we can generate with this and is an interesting exercise in so many other areas of our life: work and family, work and rest, family and rest. How is it that we can feel less pressure, less fatigue, less onus? What is it that we can do to nurture those things that we desire? Being present for our family and taking time for ourselves, carving out the space and time that we need for, I don't know, our creative endeavors, our rest and self care, our personal interests. I guess it really comes down to catching ourselves when we're having our own internal tantrums or feeling sort of victims in our own lives. Anyway, I want to wrap this up and I want to say that it's funny because I'm sitting here and this is a very full circle time in my life. Here I find myself in Italy. I didn't know how long I'd be here. I came with a one-way ticket, and it's been 2 months this week, and I find myself happy, very productive, engaged in a really nice way. and I'm being supported by the love and generosity of some very important people in my life. And I'm asking myself, do I really have to decide whether I want to be here or at my home in America? Does it have to be this or that? So here I am, some 20 years later, thinking about what might this and that look like for me these days. So, yeah, I feel extremely grateful to have 20 years of experience, wisdom, and perspective under my belt. So that's what's on my mind today. I'll leave you with that. Until next time, from my heart to yours.